at what point do you, and this is just your perspective as someone who teaches people to learn, as an entrepreneur, your role is you got to do everything in many ways, right? Until you have enough capital resources to be able to outsource and get support. So my question is, are there signs that say, you know what, I can learn this thing, but it's not worth my time or energy
oh my goodness,
to invest to get good enough to the level that I need to? Like, what are the signs? What are the things that you would tell someone or an entrepreneur that's working through that problem?
That's funny you brought that up, because I've been thinking about this the last couple of days. Because I did start to hire people. That's, over the last year, I finally, so I could barely make any money, couldn't do anything. Got my big break. It was an international music teaching site that wanted me to do. They understood what I had. They understood that they could market it and that it would be huge. And so I entered into a contract with them, and holy moly, it's really paid off really well. And I ended up with a nice bankroll that I said, this is all going to the business. I knew all along there were things I couldn't do. For instance, I mean, I'm in my 50s. I did not grow up with the internet. I knew that there's all sorts of opportunities out there. There's all sorts of people. And I've read a couple marketing books, if you can get to 1 million people and get 1% to pay your highest price, then you're in great shape, you get your highest product, right? So, but the problem was I couldn't evaluate these people. Like, how good are these people? Like, back in the day when I was your age, I was the same exact age as you are right now.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to have a storefront, and you couldn't afford to have a storefront unless you were a decently successful business or something like that. Now, everyone's got a webpage, and they all look just as professional. And everyone's got quotes. You don't know if they're actually true, because there's, if you have a storefront in town and someone's putting a bunch of lies that are quotes in their window, the town's going to call that person on it. And everyone's going to know.
Right.
So I remember when I was first doing this, I said, I got something that's this good. If this is what it takes, we'll sell the house. And I will take every penny, which is a lot, every penny we've got in there, and throw it towards marketing. But I had no idea what to do. And I certainly wasn't going to make a move like that unless I had an idea.
Right.
When I started to get that little bit of bankroll, I started asking around, and this is exactly where I was. So I could learn to build a click funnel, okay, and then do all the experiments with the split testing and all that. And I tried just a little bit. I said, oh my gosh, this will take me years to get good at. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. That's just how learning works. There's no, I don't know anything about this. I can see how it's done, but the experience and time, it's going to take a lot. I said, and after 2 or 3 years, I'd get decent at it when I could hire someone who would be 10 times better than I would be in 2 or 3 years.
Right.
So you ask I think you were asking kind of what the tipping point is, because I always wanted that. I have no ego when it comes to the business. Anyone can do anything they want. You probably don't want to, and you do want to tell me to teach how to learn if you've got good advice. Otherwise, I'm not going to listen to it. But I'll try just about anything because the weirdest things do work. But other than that, I have no, this is my business and I built it. Hire people. I want to get the thing out there and do. I'm a teaching artist. I love my artistry. I love it. It is amazingly fulfilling beyond just the fascination of it. And it's a job, and lots of people, need this sort of thing. I love nothing more than farming all this stuff out. So my tipping point was, okay, I've got enough money that I can make some mistakes with the money. I'd rather make a few mistakes with the money than 1,000 mistakes over 3 years and really screw myself up at the same time spending money on ads and whatever else. And so I took a leap of faith. I started spending $5,000 here, 10 grand there. And okay, the 5 worked. I got a good click funnel out of it, and the person did a really good job. And then I got recommended, and the people that had hired me, they've been great mentors. They're called Musical You. If you play a musical instrument or sing and you want to get better at it, please go to Musical You or check my website. And they gave me little bits of advice. You can go talk to this person, go that. Some people, I was really wet behind the ears, and they could tell, and I could tell they would like, well, let me recommend you to somebody. I'm like, I'm getting a second choice, but it's better than nothing. And the way I looked at it was, listen, if I throw this money out the window, at least I will learn a good lesson, and I have enough around that I can make a few of these mistakes. And I've been pretty lucky. So that tipping point for me, I knew all along I needed something like that. I just didn't have the money for it, and didn't have, the same thing that wouldn't allow me to quit the job, that I had to be forced into this whole situation. I didn't want to sell my house and start doing all this other stuff that, and put my wife through all this stuff. Like, I know I can do this. So the tipping point really was when I had a little bit of a bankroll to start hiring people. And that's a scary part, hiring people. Because especially in this internet age, they take your money up front, more or less.
Yes.
And you get what you get.
Yeah. I love that framework that you said. It's experimenting with capital, right? Like that idea of, you have to take the same learning mindset into hiring people, right? Like there are some people that say, hire slow, fire fast, right? Like there's kind of like that theory, which I kind of subscribe to. I would agree, but I think that kind of in that plan, do, reflect model, I think it also lacks that reflection. Okay, yeah, you fired fast, but what went wrong, right?
Right.
And I think that applying kind of that to that triangle model makes a lot of sense, because there are things that you got to do as an entrepreneur when you don't have the money. Like, you need to learn how to do social media. You need to learn how to produce a podcast. The whole first season of this podcast, apologies to the listeners, I know it doesn't sound great, but I did it. And that's not my skill set. But once I had a little bit of capital to invest, I found somebody great. And Lisa does an amazing job with it. And so, I really like that framework of just, if you're, someone says, it's not a business until you have someone that pays you for it. Right? So once you get someone to pay you for it, look at ways to invest in experiments. And that's a really good way of just kind of outsourcing some of those roles.